but I know you had a gaggle
Yes.
yesterday. And I think one of the reporters, or a couple of them, mentioned or tweeted that you haven't spoken to Winsome Sears in a couple weeks. Yeah. And I'm curious if that's still the case. And based off of her comment a couple weeks ago that she said, we all have our own race to run, do you still think that that's the case?
Oh, I think we all have our race to run. And, I can only control what I can control, which is me and my attitude and my campaign. I'm trying to work really hard every day with 2 or 3 public events a day. I'm not taking a day off. I've taken a couple of days where I've studied and called people and tried to get background on policy. Winsome's been around a long time. I like Winsome. She used to come on my radio show. We are a ticket, and my hope is that before all is said and done, whatever other people have problems with, I can put those things aside. I think we should run together. That doesn't mean we're making every stop together, but I endorse Winsome, I endorse Jason. I want Republicans to be successful, and I think we've got so much that we agree on that will be good for the people of Virginia. I got no problem doing that. I hope they'll get to that point too.
Do you believe that at some point, hopefully for you guys sooner rather than later, at some point before November, that on the campaign trail, people are going to see the ticket together as one unit? Do you think that that's going to be the case? Can you make that prediction now?
Yeah, I think people would like it. It's like, mom and dad, you want to go on family vacation together, even if there's been some rough seas, right? And to be honest with you, I'm totally fine with it. If everybody wants to do the big ticket picture, tell me when, I'm there. If you don't want to do that, it's been 8 weeks of kind of consternation. It's okay. I didn't get into this race to run for Republican legislators or the Republican establishment. I got in this race because I see Virginia leering to the left, and I've lived around the country and around the world, and I think I can be one of the people that helps explain what's in jeopardy and give some good solutions to it that will bring people together. And that's why I'm doing it, not to make other Republicans feel good. So I hope they'll love me, and I hope they'll get with me, and the grassroots seems to be, but yeah, I'm just gonna run my race.
Okay. Right now, we know that Republicans did well in the last election cycle, obviously. Trump himself does not historically play well here in Virginia. Curious how you are going to appeal to that middle 10% undecided voters, potentially even pulling some Democrats in, knowing that Trump himself as a candidate has not done well, and we're within the first year of his administration.
Yeah, it is a great question. It's a very legitimate question. I'm excited about talking to people in the middle. With my unique situation as a Republican candidate, I'm not making a big deal out of the historic nature of my candidacy, but okay, other people are. I have spent my entire life trying to bring people together, straddling conservative politics and perhaps people who are a little more moderate, maybe even liberal. And I'm trying to, with every word that I utter, try to bring people together. We're not going to all agree. I get it. We're not. But surely there are places of commonality that I can help us find. And as someone who isn't beholden to anybody here at the Capitol, I don't know anybody, anything here. That's what I'm trying to do. Donald Trump's in D.C., John Reid's in Richmond, and I'm looking to help Virginia. And so if you love Donald Trump, awesome. If you hate Donald Trump, I really don't intend to argue with you. I want to save Virginia, and that's why I'm running.
You mentioned you now know that your opponent is Senator Ghazal Hashmi. Part of your campaign and part of your strategy will include trying to convince people that a sitting state senator isn't the logical choice to be president of the Senate. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to tell people that a sitting state senator shouldn't be the next choice to be president of the Senate?
There have been a lot of different people who've been lieutenant governor. I think Don Beyer ran a car dealership, right? So you don't have to be in the Senate or the House of Delegates to be lieutenant governor. I admit I'm showing up with a different background, but I think people are hungry for that. They don't want the same people who've been here for 6, 10, 20 years to matriculate up to a position of leadership. I think I've got a really unique background politically, professionally, with the business connections that I've made around the world, and personally, where I think I can make a strong case that I'll bring a fresh set of eyes and a fresh attitude to that job. And I want to be respectful of Senator Hashmi. I have not met her. I don't think I've ever met her in person, but she's working here. I think she's staked out a position on most of the key issues in the Commonwealth that is pretty left-wing. And I don't think that aligns with where most people in Virginia are.
So if people look at you as a candidate, if you want them to know, I'm John Reid and my bread and butter as a policy-wise, this is my forte as a candidate is what exactly?
Well, I'm talking a lot about education because people are talking to me about education and they're really worried that Virginia is backsliding. I worked for George Allen. I supported George Allen when he was governor, but then I worked for him in the Senate. That was a big issue for him the entire time. Holding people accountable with testing data that would show, are the kids learning, are they not learning? Let's not just pass people through. I've talked about discipline in the classroom. Ghazala Hashmi wants to spend another $6 billion on education. She's the chairwoman of the Education Committee in the Senate. I'm telling you, you could spend $10 billion more. And until you get basic discipline in the classroom, those kids are not learning. And right now, I've visited enough classrooms over the last 8 years as a media person that I can tell these kids are largely out of control. And you've got to return authority to the teachers. I have talked to people about maybe proposing school uniforms. Some people love it, some people hate it, but you know what? We better start thinking of what we can do right now to restore discipline to the classroom. And once you do that, I think you're going to begin to see people who, you're 12, 13, 14 years old, of course you're going to be wild if you're allowed to be wild. That's why the adults, the responsible people, need to step in and bring some order to what is disorder. And I think the teachers will be happy about that in the long run.
In that press gaggle, thank you for that. In the press gaggle yesterday, looks like from the reporters that I saw that were there, you guys talked about constitutional amendments.
Yes.
And it's pretty cut and dry. She supported all three of the ones that are on the table, and you do not.
And I'm a no, no, no. And they're bad pieces of legislation.
Want clarification on all of those.
Okay.
And particularly, I guess, the one about same-sex marriage, because people will look at that and see you as the first openly gay candidate and think, why would he be against that?
Yeah. The reason I'm against it is not because I'm against gay marriage. And that upsets some, evangelical conservatives. I understand. I've expressed to them, I'm here not just to do what I want and not to make everyone bend a knee to my opinions, but to protect everybody's rights. So you can count on me to protect the rights of gay citizens who want to get married. That's what the Supreme Court has said is allowed. I'm pleased by that. But what this amendment doesn't do is protect religious institutions and religious people. And I've got to make sure that that fundamental principle in American society is protected. Look, if you are an evangelical and you are not for gay marriage, I wish I could change your mind, but it's okay. I'm not trying to force you to bake a cake you don't want to bake. I'm not forcing you to say a sermon you don't want to offer. I'm not trying to force your church to sanctify a marriage that you don't believe in. You can, in a free society, you can do what you want. And I can too. And I want to come and be the lieutenant governor who protects everybody's rights. And that's why this bill, this amendment as it's written, is a no-go, because it doesn't offer those protections.
In the event that you are president of the Senate, that's the tie-breaking vote.
Right.
Is there a particular effort or issue that you almost selfishly would like to see come across your desks that you could vote one way or the other? So what's an issue that, you hope you could be the deciding factor on if you can?
Anything that drives up taxes in Virginia, I want to defeat. We're taxed too much here in Virginia. And we're losing people who are just done. A lot of people paid their car tax, 2 weeks ago? And I was out kind of foolishly campaigning, and they took it out on me like, I hate this car tax. And I said, I'm with you. You're paying essentially to rent the car even after you paid the note off to the state government. That's absurd. Now, I'm not one of these people who thinks we don't need taxes. You got to have taxes to be able to have the grass cut and the roads paved and the functionality of society. I understand that. But I think we've really got to recalibrate the tax rates. The car tax has got to go. And the other thing that I'm really focused on, I'm hearing it from more and more people, especially as these house values rise, you've got people on fixed income who have paid off their house 10 years ago. They paid 30 years of paying off a mortgage, and suddenly their house has doubled or tripled in value, and they can't afford on a fixed income to pay the taxes. That's not right, especially for seniors and for somebody who might have a disability who couldn't work to catch up even if they wanted to. We got to fix that, and I want to do that.
So let's talk a little bit, you said other people are talking about your kind of historicalness as the first openly gay statewide candidate in Virginia's history, right? Wanted to touch on that a little bit, not that specifically, but last 4 years, LGBTQ organizations have honestly come out against a lot of the policy decisions from the Youngkin administration. And I'd say in general, LGBTQ organizations have not felt great about Republican policymaking broad strokes, right? You're in that community. How are you going to navigate those conversations with that community?
Look, the problem right now for the LGBTQ plus community is that they're jumping the shark on issues. I mean, there was a time where I was advocating for gay marriage, not because of abnormalcy, but because of normalcy, that this is the fundamental building block of society. And I believe then and believe now, gay couples, lesbians, gay men can come together to protect themselves, to build a functional family together, and that will help society, not harm society. Gays in the military, I advocated for that because I felt like gay men and women should be able to serve openly in the military with no changes in the standards, none. You better be able to do the pull-ups, you better be able to run, you better, show up and not be too frisky with anybody or you're out. Got it? No one's tolerating any changes. Now, though, it appears to me, as someone who is in this community, that there's a push for abnormality. And with the trans issue, I never want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I got to tell you, there is black and white biological fact and truth that always has to be paramount when we're making law and when we're deciding how we handle things in society. And so while I would never want to hurt the feelings of or embarrass or humiliate or harass someone who is a male who feels like they're feminine or vice versa, I can't allow public policy for the entire society to be built on something that's not factually true. If you come to me and say, John, I've got these feelings, all right, we can probably work around that. But what's happened, and this is my problem with the gay leadership today, is that they are trying to force everyone to validate something that is not factually true. And I think that's not a fair place for us to start the conversation about how we accommodate people. And I do think they've made some terrible mistakes with like Drag Queen Story Hour. I mean, drag shows belong down the street at 1 o'clock in the morning in the gay bar. They don't belong in a elementary school or in any school. They don't belong in the public library. It's sexualized entertainment. It's funny at 1 o'clock in the morning with some drinks, but it's not appropriate for kids. I got no problem saying that. I've been shocked by some of my friends who are gay, who have pushed for books in the public libraries that objectively are pornographic. I mean, come on. You can buy whatever book you want. If you're an adult, I'm not going into your bedroom. I don't want you in my bedroom. I want you to live your life as you see fit. It's not my business. But when it comes to public libraries, public money being spent on this, we've gone a long way from where we discussed whether Huckleberry Finn was going to be in the children's library with some of the language which wouldn't be acceptable today, to now we're debating pornography. That's not a debate with me. It shouldn't be there.
We talked about undecided voters getting that middle 10%. Right now, things are divided in America,
Very.
To say the least.
It's been that way for a while.
Is there an attempt to, from a campaign strategy standpoint, beyond just undecided voters, is there going to be an attempt to appeal to Democratic voters? And if you do find success there, what do you think that's going to be off the heels of?
Well, it's one of the reasons that I've been so excited about this Republican ticket, is I think someone who doesn't, obsess about politics is going to look and go, wow, this is the Republican ticket. This is different than what I expected. And I'm hopeful that that's going to give people who might have sworn they would never vote for a Republican, or maybe they just reflexively vote Democrat, to say, I'd be curious to hear what they're saying, whether it's Winsome, whether it's me, whether it's Jason. For myself, that's one of the reasons I got into the race, is I think I've got a unique perspective with my background, still pretty solidly conservative, but I think most Virginians on the fundamentals are conservative, and some of the rhetoric of the party in the past has driven people away. I want to bring people back in and find that common ground, be reasonable and responsible and fair, and I think that's going to be the winning message.